Hi there, Year Sixes. It's Mr. Bellingham with another music lesson for you today. We're going to carry on looking at the songs we've been creating in Music Maker Jam. So far, I'm really impressed with what I've heard from you guys. I've loved listening to the songs, seeing the little videos as you've sent them in the pictures or the sound files or whatever you've managed to share with us through Teams and through Twitter. There's so much variety. I really like the way, obviously, I think I might have said this before, but the way you've kind of taken them down the path of the sort of music that you're interested in, but they're all sounding great in their own ways. And as long as you're liking them and you're liking your song, then that is the main thing anyway, but they're all sounding fantastic. Today we're going to have a look at adding another couple more sections to the songs, with the idea then that next week we can finish them off by really getting things arranged and finished recording, but it will give us a few more sections to work with and a few other bits just to kind of choose from as we're structuring our song. So the first thing I'm going to do with you is just share the screen. Obviously we'll go into the app, Music Maker Jam. It may come up like this, it may come up back on your home screen. Just remember, if it's on the home screen, you can press My Content at the bottom, and then your song should be there, and you may have other songs, so make sure you pick the right one. And then we have basically how far we've got so far. So you can see that up to now, we've managed to make two sections, haven't we? We have a section A and a section B, and we've got a variety of different instruments in them. Just a couple of things before we get started creating anything new. That's remember not to rush ahead. Okay, because a few of you, I know, like, you want to get really involved in making the songs, and it's great that you're so enthusiastic about it. And if you want to create other songs, have 5 or 6 songs, have as many as you want on the iPad, experiment with different things. But just remember, with the one we're doing in class, don't jump ahead and make 5 sections and fill out all the tracks, because you'll find then, like today or in future lessons, you're going to have to delete things so that you can do the next steps and things as I show you things. So try not to rush ahead too much if you can. And then also remember, one thing I noticed when I've had a look at them and I've left comments for you, quite a few of you have not named your 2 different sections. So you have a section A at the top, and then instead of section B, you've got some of you have got section A and A1 in brackets. Okay, and it's important that we change them because and give it like section A, section B, and so on, because when we come to making more sections to our song, probably next week, and arranging the song, we're going to duplicate the section. So we're going to copy section A and copy it again, and you'll end up with it being called A1-1 and A1-2, and it's going to get all really confusing. Whereas if you keep it really clear that you've got A, B, C, and D, which is what we're going to do today for the 4 sections, then it'll be really easy to know exactly what you're working with, and you won't get yourself confused. Okay, so getting into today's lesson then, we're going to look at adding 2 more sections. I really want to think about dynamics, and if you think back to class, what we meant by dynamics of the song, that it's not like the same all the way through, that the volume's not the same, that the instruments aren't the same, and we've already done this between section A and section B. And if I think about my favourite parts of songs, it's usually where you've kind of had a quiet bit, and then there's something that's called a drop, where there's maybe a little pause, and then the new beat comes in for the chorus, and it really lifts the song, gives it a really good impact, and kind of bit of surprise as well, doesn't it? It just keeps you listening, keeps you engaged, and makes it memorable. It's those things that kind of stick out for you. Now, listening back to my song, I'm kind of happy with my 2 sections so far, but I think they're both too much in the middle. So what I want to do today, when we create 2 new sections, is I want an even more empty, kind of quieter, more thoughtful section, and an even more, obviously the tempo will be the same, but louder, more instrumental section as well. Okay. Now, depending how you've done your song so far, you might already have those sections, and you're looking for 2 more in the middle. You might have 2 really loud, like, more intricate sections with lots of different instruments, and you might need to look at some quieter ones. You might have some quiet ones and want to add some fuller ones. You might just want to change it to give it a different feel. Okay, all of those things are absolutely fine. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you how I'm going to make my sections, and then you can use your creativity and your ideas to make yours either similar or a little bit different if that is what you would prefer. Okay, so back to the app then. The first thing I'm going to do is, I liked the idea. One of you, when I listened to it, had a really quiet introduction and it came in really quietly in your section A, and I really liked that. So I want to create a similar effect in my song. So it's going to be most like my current section A, but it's going to be even quieter. So I'm going to start on section A, and all I'm going to do is just copy that and make a new section. So I click on the A at the top. I'm going to click on the plus in the square to make another section. As you can see, it's called it section A1. So I'm going to click on that and I'm just going to drag it. Oops, it's always a bit temperamental to do this, to the side. And I'm going to make sure, like I said earlier, we're going to make sure we rename it. We're going to call it section C. It doesn't matter that they're not in order. I want it at the start because at the moment that's where I imagine it going, but I may change my mind on that as we get going anyway. And also, currently, if we click back on the C, can you see there is the square with the number 8 in the middle, because each section so far has lasted for 8 bars. Okay, I only want this section to be 4 bars, so all I'm going to do is click on that section there, on the number 8, and then I can select 4 to make it into 4 bars, and then click away. Okay, so now you can see, if you look at the top, just under the titles for the sections, the spaces have got bigger, and those kind of big dots, the larger, whiter dots, kind of show exactly where each bar starts, and it looks different to section A. Okay, so the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm looking now for a really quiet section. I want it to have a particular kind of sound and feel, so that when you listen to the song, it doesn't start off straight away, but it kind of almost like fades in quietly before section A comes in. So I'm particularly looking, as I look through the different sound loops, I'm looking for things that might say pad on them, because pad usually means like a kind of spacey, in the back kind of atmospheric sound. I'm looking for maybe some things that might say effects, and maybe some guitars or keyboards that are very empty, they don't have any rhythm to them. Okay, so just for an example, I have already done this because I had to re-record the lesson. I'm going to just click off there for a second, and I'm going to look through for some of those sort of things. So if we look in this violin section, can you see it says bell pad? Okay, I don't want to choose that exact one, but I'm looking for something similar, and the one I really liked was this one here called Jonesboro pad. So if I just play that for you. Okay, can you see how it really just, there's not a lot of rhythm to it, there's not a lot of melody to it, it's just kind of chords in the background, and it just evolves a little bit, gives it a bit of an atmospheric feel. Okay, so I'm going to add a couple more things to mine. While I do that, pause the video, have an experiment with yours, create a section C for yourself. Maybe you want to do it very similar to mine and keep it kind of chilled out. Maybe you want to do it differently because you've got a different direction your song is going in. That's absolutely fine, whatever works for you. But pause the video now, have a go. I'm probably looking to put 2 or 3 instruments in mine, but I'm really making sure I'm not going to put any drums, anything that gives the song rhythm just yet. Okay, off you go. Okay, so hopefully you managed to create that extra section. I'm just going to show you mine very quickly, just to give you an idea of what I'm doing. Like I said, the more as well we go through this project, the more different our songs will be, even in structure and things, and that is absolutely fine. All I'm trying to do is give you ideas to kind of give you a pointer, and you might want to take that and you might not want to. It depends what you're trying to create with your song. So I've found three different loops here. I've got the Jonesboro pad, which I already talked about. I've got this one here, which is called Sheridan Finger Guitar B, which if I just play for you. Okay, you see I've just got it very quiet, pulled down there, but it's just kind of swirling in and out, just giving it a little bit of a pulsing effect. And then I've got this one called Vinyl Effects J, and it's basically just like the scratching of an old record. And again, it doesn't do a lot, it sounds very strange by itself, but it just gives it a bit more texture to the song. So let's have a listen to that one. Okay, and by themselves, each one of them doesn't really sound that interesting, but together I just like the way it gives the feel. So let's have a quick listen. Okay, so there you go, that is my section C done, and all I want there is it just to give that nice kind of quiet in the background effect to kind of prepare the listener for when section A comes in. Okay, the last thing then that we want to do today is to create that second section, and for me that's going to be kind of a much louder section. It won't be louder probably in volume, but just fuller in terms of instruments. So it'll give us the idea that the song is lifted, even though it won't actually be physically louder. So what I want to do with that is I'm going to kind of copy my section B because it's the most similar. So we'll start by doing that. So we're going to click on the B. We're going to click in the plus to copy it, and we have B1. Remember, like I said earlier, let's make sure we get it named. So we're going to click on it again, click on the pencil, and I'm going to call it section D. Okay, now as you see it looks exactly like my section B. Now in this part of my song, my idea, and it's always important that you start with kind of an idea of where you're going, is I'm thinking about songs like Counting Stars, things like something just like this by Coldplay and the Chainsmokers, where they have a section in them where like a big instrument kind of comes in and plays some melody, some tune, and it often something that's either an electric guitar doing a solo or a synthesizer with kind of a big sound which goes right at the front of the mix of instruments that really kind of gives a bit of a hook to the song, and it's the bit of the song that you will often remember. Okay, so all I'm going to do now is I'm going to look through for a couple of things like that. And again, I'm looking particularly in the electric guitar section, in that synthesizer section, which is the keyboard, but it's the keyboard section. If you look at the button, can you see under my one that says Modder, that keyboard looks a little bit different. It's got some kind of faders on the side on the picture and a few little buttons on the top. Okay, that's where you're likely to find your synthesizer sounds. Now that's where I'm going to find the things that I think work best for my song, but I'm going to have a bit of experiment. I'm going to add a couple of those in, but also I really want this to be a kind of step change in my song where it takes a bit of a different direction. So I'm also going to go back to at least 3 or 4 of those instruments that are already there, and I'm going to change it so that my drummer plays a different rhythm in this section, so that my bass guitarist plays a different rhythm in this section, and so on. And all that means is it'll just keep the song, it'll just give it kind of a fresh bit of the song, so it doesn't become the same thing just looped over and over again. Particularly when we haven't got any words, any lyrics being sung, it'll hopefully keep my song nice and interesting. Okay, so again, I'll let you do this sort of thing by yourselves. So I'm going to pause the video, I'm going to experiment with changing what I've got there already, adding a couple of tracks, so it will probably all be fully, have all the full 8 tracks used. And when you are happy with your section D, if you unpause, we'll see how I got on, and you can have a listen to what I came up with as well. Okay, off you go. Okay, so hopefully you've got on well with that. If you have a quick look, I don't know if you remember exactly what all of my sections were, what all of my instrument tracks were called and the loops I'd used, but I've changed quite a lot of them. I think I've changed all but one of them, and I've added a couple of extra ones just to give like I said, a real lift. I've messed about with the sliders and the volumes a bit to get the things loud that I want loud and the things that are loud that I want quiet. So I'm just going to press play just so you can hear it and see how the approach I've taken. Okay, and I don't know how well it comes across, but I was particularly kind of looking for these sounds. So there's this one called Big Leader that sounds like this. Okay, and this one called No Go Area that sounds like this. Okay, and they were the ones that I was really looking to kind of give it a slightly different feel. So, just before we finish off, I think what I'm going to do is I'm just going to play my song as it is at the moment, starting at section C, going through to A and B and D, and we'll just have a little listen to it like that and see how it sounds. The reason I'm doing this is obviously next week will be our last week on this project itself, so we're going to want to think about any changes we want to make, how to structure it. So it's just going to get me thinking ahead, because I'm sure as much as I probably like the sound of it, I've not listened to it all together yet. There'll be a couple of things that I will want to change. So let's play it from the start. Okay, so there it is, all the way through. I think I like most of it. I like the way the sections are different. I particularly like the way it changes from section A to B. I think section D is probably too loud at the moment. I think when it goes from the first section, the introduction, to section A, I don't quite like the way it changes from between them. So that's something we can look at a little bit more next week and try and kind of balance the volumes between the sections, but also make sure that when we're changing from one thing to another, that if we want it to be a smooth change, there are a few little tips I can give us with our instruments just to kind of keeping some consistency throughout the song as well. But that is it, I think, for today. Well done. Hopefully you've got your 4 sections, you've got them very different in terms of dynamics, and then we're all set up next week to get this kind of structure finished off of our song, and we should have an amazing song created. Okay, so well done. As always, share your work any way that you can. It's great just to be able to listen and to hear them. Lots of you, if you can't actually upload the video, you've taken a video of your song playing. If it's on a tablet, you've used a phone to video the song playing on a tablet, or the other way around, or whatever, and that's worked really well and meant I've been able to hear your songs as well. Okay, so well done. Enjoy finishing off this if you've got any more left to do on it, and I will see you next week when we finish our songs. Goodbye.